Welcome back, adventurers, to the Fantasy Forge. Today we are going to talk about 9 secrets that you can add to your game for better dungeon crawls, so stick around. The first thing that you can do to create a better dungeon crawl for your players is to think about the history of the place. What made the place a ruin in the first place? You really want to think about what this dungeon used to be before it was a dungeon. If they are exploring a tower, you want to think about what that tower used to be. Was it a mage's tower? Was it a school? Was it the top of a palace? By thinking about the history beforehand, you can then start to paint the picture for your players yourself because you have a better understanding of what it is that they're seeing. I don't know about you, but I tend to think of dungeons as literally just corridors, and that is honestly one of the worst things you could do if you're trying to create a better dungeon. The second thing that you want to do is layer the exploration. So now that you have the history laid out and you know what this place used to be, think about how you can reveal those secrets slowly. Think about the moment that this became a dungeon and became a ruin and what those final moments were. How would those secrets have been left in those moments? If your players are exploring the bottom of the ocean and they are going through some crazy sunken ship, then you want to think about how that ship sunk and what the passengers were doing in those final moments. That way, when the players go into the captain's quarters and discover the final notes that he jotted down, there's a reason for that. By thinking about everything that led up to the moments where this place was ruined and became the dungeon that they are now seeing, you can better lay out the secrets throughout the entire dungeon and create a sense of history and a sense of this place feeling lived in and ancient. And all that's really going to do is create a much more realistic world and dungeon for you. The third thing you want to do is set the mood with environmental details. I say this a lot in other videos. You really need to use dynamic descriptors when it comes to being a dungeon master. Your voice is the ultimate tool as a dungeon master, and you want to make sure that you are using it to its fullest potential. So really put yourself in the shoes of the players, and more than that, really put yourself in the shoes of the characters of the players and think about what it is that they're seeing and how you can best describe that and use all the senses. So it's not just them going into a stone dungeon, it is a wet dungeon, it is a musty dungeon, there's a lot of dust, it is dark. It smells like rotting corpses. Use all of the senses to describe the dungeon, and that is what is really going to help make it feel more real for your players. The fourth thing you can do is create puzzles or encounters for the party to overcome. This tip here comes with a little bit of a caveat because I also think it's a little weird that every dungeon just has random traps. So what I will say is that if you are going to create puzzles, then think about why they are there. There's not just random puzzles in places for players to come and solve. That just makes it feel like a video game. If there is a puzzle, it needs to solve a purpose. Is it a secret doorway that was created by a long gone ancient brotherhood, or is it a trap that has been placed there to keep people from getting in because it's protecting an ancient relic? Think about why those things are there and then layer those into the dungeon as part of the history that you've created. Going back to the reference of that ship underwater, maybe the captain's ship was sunk because he was carrying some long lost treasure and didn't want anyone else to find it, and so he rigged explosives on the door. That is a trap that the players would have to overcome, but now there's a reason for it. Now, to piggyback off of that one, the fifth thing that you can do to really level up your dungeon is to think about unique enemies for your players to encounter. Now, again, just like the other one, you want to think about this a little bit because one of the weirdest things you can do is to just have a random monster in these dungeons that doesn't fit the theming of the place whatsoever. So think about why this creature is down here. Why did it go into this place? Was it running from something? Did it find something down here and wants to protect it? But use the dungeon as an opportunity for a unique type of enemy that they wouldn't encounter anywhere else. By layering unique enemies in your dungeons, it's going to make your players want to go down there in the first place. The sixth thing you want to do is make sure that you are evolving the terrain. If they are exploring a dungeon, don't think about it as just long corridors leading from one room to the next. If it is a dungeon, then it's probably fallen into ruin, and you want to think about how 1,000 years or 10,000 years of being underground has started to affect the place. Are there sections of it that have been destroyed, but if the players were to go around, they would discover the lost vault? Or perhaps there are areas that are completely submerged. By creating terrain that is constantly changing in these dungeons, you're also forcing your players to, one, use their resources, which is one of the best things you can do as a dungeon master, especially if you want your encounters to be good. But it's also challenging them and making them think. And from a player's perspective, the best thing that your dungeon master can do is try and challenge you and keep you guessing, because that's what makes the game fun. Nobody wants to play a game when it's easy all the time. The seventh tip that I could give to you is to not fall into the cliches. Don't fill your dungeons with skeletons and mummies and things like that. You're not doing yourself a service as a storyteller if you are just falling into the cliches. Think about new things that you can add to the dungeon to set it apart and level up your story and create more history for your world that is not just something that you saw in a movie. The eighth thing you can do is to embrace exploration. So you really want to give your players options and paths. Have them go down a tunnel and step into a massive cavern where there are numerous staircases and doors and tunnels that lead off into things, and give them a sense of urgency and a feeling that they are the ones in control. By giving them those options, you're allowing them to feel like the world is larger than it really is. Even if at the end of the day, the tunnel or the door is going to lead to the same place, they don't need to know that. The last tip that I can give you is to think about the rewards that are down here. If you create a dungeon and your players go through the whole dungeon and then they get nothing out of it, that is the worst feeling, and chances are they will not want to go into your next dungeon because there was a lot of danger for zero reward. So think about the reward that you can place for the players, but also why it's down there. Going back to the idea of that captain, was it a treasure he was after? Was it an item? Was this dungeon created because a cult of mages decided that they couldn't let this evil get out into the world, and so they sunk their entire city? Think about how this reward got down there, and it doesn't necessarily have to be gold. It can be secret lore. It can be a book. Find a good way for your players to reach that reward, whether it's a boss fight or an in-depth puzzle such as a sinking room. Give them the satisfaction of having to earn that reward, and it'll be so much sweeter in the end. So I hope these 9 tips help you create a better dungeon crawl for your players in your next game. Leave your own tips in the comments below for what you think would make a better dungeon. As always, thank you so much for watching, everybody. Forge on, adventurers, and I'll see you in the next video.